Hello everyone and welcome back to Dark Marketing, and in this video we're going to talk about the Google Helpful Content Update, analysis and how to do high-level analysis, and we're also going to talk about poker math and casino math and just some general principles that we want to apply to our understanding of how we apply our strategies for SEO against the algorithm, including our strategies that are off-site with backlinking. And we're going to take a whole look at that in a sort of big picture thinking way. Because, as I've said in videos prior, I often refer to large concepts that I play into my thinking when I'm thinking about the many scoring metrics that Google has. And we know that there are over 200, and there are many that are unknown. And of course, Google gives us a lot of clues, and Google also gives us a lot of misinformation. So, that being said, this is going to be an exciting video. I hope you're going to enjoy it and watch to the end, because there's going to be a lot of really great stuff, concepts and explanations about things, and my take on the Google Helpful Content Update. As I spent the majority of my holiday weekend, like everyone else, but I was working. And so I was working and doing housework and cooking Christmas dinner and watching YouTube videos. And I must have watched, I think, about 14 videos on Google Helpful Content Update from what I believe are very reputable sources, and at least just getting their take on it and how it affected them in their particular genre or niche. With that being said, guys, this is Dark Marketing. I'm your host, Big Dom. Let's get started. Now, let me give you a little bit of background about poker, blackjack, casino. I assume that everyone just has a basic understanding. Everybody's visited a casino, I would think, at least once in their lifetime. So you have a basic understanding of the principle of gambling, which is all that's really required here. And in the nitty-gritty, we'll make comparisons to blackjack with multiple decks being shuffled, Google results, and poker is another popular one. If you don't play poker or blackjack, I suggest as a little side habit that you load one of each of those games up on your mobile phone and play a little bit. Play poker. Poker is a fantastic game. Now, to give you a little bit about background about me and poker and math in general, I grew up in the printing industry and I got exposed to computers at a very early age. But the companies that I worked into gave me unique experience because they were larger companies that did economy driving work. The first company I went to work for when I was very young, they were a smaller operation, but they did work for larger companies. And that's where I got the basis for a lot of my mathematical skills, because I started learning how to cut paper, finished product, and that evolved into a much more advanced skill that I carried on with me through the years, where I had to do and deal with large quantities of numbers, be able to convert fractions to decimals and do all sorts of calculations. And basically it was a lot of big math and a lot of shipping review of big math. And so I learned to work math a little bit differently in my head, and I always excelled at math in school. But fundamentally, I failed to recognize it. And really, although I did capitalize on life, I didn't really become aware and start to really focus on it until I became conscious of the fact that once I applied myself to something that required math and patterns, that I had a gift for kind of playing that along. And I wasn't an idiot savant or anything like that. I just applied myself. And I applied, and if you do it's just like you learn in school. When they teach you basic mathematics, if you follow the examples and you do them long enough, you get the basic understanding. But what I learned to do with math was work with my large numbers first and go down to my small numbers last in whatever calculations I was doing. So that being said, I also got exposed to gambling at an early age, where I was attempting to apply mathematics to it. So I actually wound up having a big win, and some people in the company, everyone was talking about it, and one of the owners of the company, as there were two, he was unseen. He was the money guy, a mathematical guy, and he called me into the office and said, "I heard that you have won." and won some sizable money. And so he sat me down and he explained to me about casino math and the odds and how they take a percentage of the bet. Now, this gentleman was, well-to-do, very smart guy and no nonsense. And in that hour that he spent with me, he convinced me never to gamble again, that I needed to walk away a winner because I would give it all back. And I took his advice. However, later in life, about 15 years ago, I got exposed to poker because, understand, I am not a gambler. And my mother is a good Christian woman who raised us in the fear of God not to be a gambler. However, I'm a scientist at heart and an analyst, and I always felt that there might be mathematical approaches to beating things. And with poker, you don't play against the casino. You're really playing in their house, understand? And you're playing against the other players at the table. And that's what I want you to remember here in these scenarios, that in poker, and right, unlike blackjack where you're just playing against the house, that's a slightly different game. So we're going to merge those two concepts, but in poker, you play against the other people at the table. And likewise, you're in a casino that has many tables, and those tables have different values. So we're going to take a look at that and examine some of these concepts in our analysis and how I use that in my thinking and how I play the big picture game of many tables. Because when I got involved with poker about 15 years ago, and full disclosure, I don't play anymore. At the time that I started playing, it was not legal in the United States, but there was Poker Stars and Full Tilt, and I was playing with them, and I was doing extremely well. And I started playing online, and I didn't play large money, but I began to then get into playing 4 tables and then 8 tables at a time, and I was very good at it. I learned all the ins and outs of the game. I studied it. I read all the books on poker. I listened to poker podcasts and learned about the odds and how to play the odds in hands. So I became very good, and everyone saw me going pro. But when Full Tilt and Poker Stars got shut down, I just gave up the game because I couldn't see myself playing professionally and making my living on it. Because at the end of the day, what I do now is the same thing. I run my operation like I'm running a casino, and every day I'm playing poker. I'm analyzing the games on my table in the analytics and my various tracking systems, and then I'm going in and I'm making adjustments. I'm dropping a card and taking a new one. I'm raising a bet or I'm folding my hand. Understand? And these are principles that you can apply in the real world. So if you haven't played a little poker, just so you understand, it's one of the greatest games because it's a game not only of math but of strategy and timing. And that's why you find it's a lot of magicians get into it, because they understand the concept of misleading and timing and sleight of hand. And not that we're doing any sleight of hand with the cards and gambling, but those principles apply. And reading the players is like reading the landscape that you're competing in with your search results on Google. So let's start by taking a look at a few things that you should be doing as part of your daily analysis of keeping informed. Because in my approach to SEO, I have my own approach. I am always listening to and looking at what others do and trying to, sometimes I say, oh yeah, I understand why that works because I know that metric. Or I will hear something in what they're saying and recognize how that metric is affecting something on one of my sites that I'm working on. So recognizing that and learning to adjust my game. And of course, look, doing analysis, I am doing analysis all day long throughout the day in real time with all of the work that I'm doing. And so it's always good to look at what other people are analyzing and what are they gleaning and what are their perceptions. Because if you look at the world of poker and how it starts, if you've ever played poker, you get an interest in it, because now it's become legal, and it's legal in the United States, and People start with an app on their phone and they get into the game and maybe they have a few friends and they play at work or something, or, they have that weekly poker game. And then they started, maybe they play in the casino or now they play online. And people watch the World Series of Poker. It's very popular, right? It's on now all the time with cable TV. And again, this is a super interesting concept to apply to our SEO strategy because SEO guys out there and marketing guys, they're much like poker players. They start off small, and you may play at home and play online and do so very successfully. There are just tons of guys out there that sit home, play poker online, and literally make a small fortune. And in fact, when poker became legal in the United States, that really opened up an opportunity for me because now there were going to be a lot of lower level players unafraid to enter the game because it's legal, and they were playing at casinos within their state and or in the country, and now that changed the whole dynamic, and there was really a huge opportunity there for me to go in and exercise my skill set. But as I said, that was not the life for me, but it was one of the greatest experiences that I had of almost going pro. And now those experiences and other mathematical experiences play into and have always played into this work because I've been doing it continuously over the years. And so when I talk about this, you start to understand that many of these guys that you watch on YouTube, and they become hugely successful, they can tell you their game. You can learn poker. You can learn which hands beat which other hands. And start to understand the strategy because playing the game against one is different than playing on a table with 2 players or 4 or 8 or even 12. The whole dynamic of the game changes, and that is what happens in SEO. And so as much as I could teach you my entire game, or someone else gives you their game, or you get someone's course and it's a top-notch course, really gets you, giving you 70% of what you need to be successful, and the rest, you start to learn on your own as times change. That's a great way to start, but, the reality is you have to learn to play the game. You have to be in it and playing it and having cards on the table and lots of content in order to be successful, okay? You can't sit on the sideline. You got to get in that game because once these guys, they start to win, and great website you really need to watch is Niche Pursuits. And let's stop now and kind of drop into that line of thinking. Now, if you guys don't watch Niche Pursuits, you need to watch this channel. This is just such a great channel here, and I'll leave a link to this video about the helpful content update analysis. It's really an excellent video, and the thing about Niche Pursuits is this is such a great channel because they do so many good interviews here. It'll really help you to recognize who are some of the real legitimate players out there, because many of them, like Julian Goldie, he has his own channel, okay? And every one of these guys, they all have their own way to play and win at poker. Understand? We're all playing the same game. We're all sitting in the same casino, and we're all playing different tables in the casino, okay? And understanding that is important. And so you'll really start to see who all these guys are, and think of them like poker stars, like the guys. If you watch poker, you start to learn. You learn if you're online, you start to learn the guys who are online who are famous, the poker coaches, the guys who excel. And there's all level of guys in there. And growing yourself to that point, because in poker there's kind of 2 different games. There's the online game, and then there's the live game. And the live game is considerably more difficult. And I was not good at the live game going to the casino, although I was good in like general settings with just normal people, and maybe that's because they're not as good even though they play poker a lot. But I felt that I couldn't really read people and read the game against people I didn't know, whereas on the computer, I was relying on a different logic because I always pay attention to minute details in computer responses, and it was not that much different in the way that the players were responding to me. And paying attention to small details, and filing them away in your brain when you're doing large thought processes about things are critical sometimes, because you'll remember that, oh yeah, there was this little thing here, and it turns out that little thing turns out to be a very big factor for ranking that tips up the scale for the other factors that it sits in the same group with. And what do I mean by group? Well, there's different types of SEO. There's local SEO, right? And local SEO is really no different than regular SEO, except you're targeting actual cities and counties within a state, or perhaps a country, provinces, or the like. But you're limited by your range, because when you're doing local, you're not going to be in New Jersey and come up in New York, okay? So, little different game you're playing there, different tables. The other game is, when you look at a lot of these, even though they are very phenomenally successful, some people that really do big work in terms of making money, they are niche. They are niche. They've developed niche things into big things. Now, myself being around for a long time, while I'm relatively new to YouTube, I've only had my channel a little over a year, I've been around a long time, and I've been doing large-scale SEO and doing it for extremely large companies. Now, I guess I could argue statistically or technically speaking, it's not unlike some niche, but on the other hand, it's much more mainstream. And like my clients in high tech, semiconductor, fiber optics, some of these industries, LiDAR, automotive electronics, LiDAR, not LiDAR, radar, GPS, many of these technologies, they are extremely mainstream and get lots of traffic. It's not the sort of thing that every day people are looking for, but much more popular than even a popular blog genre topic that might be something about cooking, and maybe they get a huge amount of visitors. So the keyword bidding is also substantially higher, and the reason the companies are willing to get into bidding wars so much is because the value of the leads is so extreme. You know, they can run from a few tens of thousands of dollars to hundreds of thousands and even multi-million-dollar orders. And that's not infrequent. My clients frequently, not frequently, but infrequently get those type of orders in a year, that they get that one, it's a $20 million order. And so understanding the value of the leads and the value of the game that I'm playing at the tables, I'm playing a high stakes game. So it's a little bit different. And I'll actually share and show some of those results and how they stack up. Because what's really interesting about watching that this particular video, and I strongly suggest you do, is what they talk about in here is they also reference this article. And I'll also leave a link to the description. And this is a very, very lengthy article about his analysis of multiple sites of the Google Helpful Content Update. And as you can see as I scroll down here, it is ginormous. But it is well worth the read. And in some cases, there'll be sections that may or may not apply to you. Also, his video is very good because it's going to give you some insight into how he analyzes the breakdown of the content in these pages, and also how he analyzes his analytics for engagement time. It's pretty critical, okay? Now, I also watched, as I said, probably, I think it was about 14 videos total, just on Helpful Content Update, including one interview with Kyle Ruth. And I find myself always, just his thought process and mine are very similar, and I find myself in agreement with him, especially when he is skeptical about certain things. And that comes from the experience and the confidence in which he does his analysis. And oftentimes he will concede certain things, and many people who are experienced at SEO will concede certain factors. So, that being said, there's a lot of things going on with this Helpful Content Update, because a lot of people felt that, hey, my content is good. It is helpful. It may not be, now they took a hit, and there are other people coming up, and, despite all of these analysis that at least from their perception and looking at it through their eyes and the way they're presenting it, it seems that in many cases it makes sense. It may not be 100% accurate or even accurate at all, but it appears to make sense to them in their analysis for their particular niche. But what I really took away from listening to all of it is that many people, why is it suddenly that some sites that, come on, I'm sorry, they suck. There were a couple of examples of some sites that had almost nothing, no heading text, no real images. It was a small amount of content, and suddenly it was skyrocketing in the rankings. Well, let's remember something, everyone. We're in a casino. So let's take a look. I just searched casino layouts, right? And you see they got all kinds of things. And I find interesting things when I clicked on, oh yeah, Mama wants a new pair of shoes. That's funny. So, but I find that when I want to look at some of these images, interesting things: high rollers, hotel guest, casual players. And you see that these games, no matter how you look at one of these casino layouts, they're filled with tables. And you can think of all these tables and machines as different niches and markets and different levels. Because if you go to a casino, they got the $5 table and the $10 table and the 20, 100. So that's where the betting ranges start. And then you go to the big table where the minimum bets are much higher. Understand? So in this world, we are like the Matrix because we can not only bend the rules, we can often break them. We're not buying Google's chips, but understanding, just like in a casino, what happens? What does everybody know what happens when someone is just winning and winning and winning and winning? They stop. They bring in another dealer. They shuffle the deck. And why are they doing that? Well, in all of these analysis, the one thing that I have failed to hear from anyone is that Google is attempting to find a way to maximize its ad revenues. You understand? Casinos don't like to lose money. They're not in the business of losing money. They're trying to shuffle the deck, and your once much coveted positions, and especially I've seen some results where, there's some guys that are doing has some really dramatic traffic and have just seen heavy damage since the first rollout of the HCU in September. Numbers that just plummeted them. And how many of those people are going to start thinking in their mind, maybe I need to buy Google Ads because I know what I was making in revenue. And if I have to spend X amount of dollars in Google Ads, you understand? So now, when you start purchasing Google Ads in the casino, that's like you not buying chips from them. What you're doing is you're buying winning cards. Winning cards. Understand? So in other words, you're saying, hey, I want to pay extra for an ace in my hand. I want to pay extra for 2 aces in my hand. Understand? And that starts to get pricey. The reason it gets more pricey is because there's the competitive factor. You're not just playing against Google. You're playing against everyone at the table. And when your algorithm gets hit, guess what else is happening? Everyone else around you who got hit is also changing how they're going to play their game now. They're also adjusting. So what you need to recognize is that rather than, you want to look for aspects of things that may have impacted other people, but you want to stick to your core strategies and play your game the right way, to stick with the right way, because there's a lot of ups and downs, and you had all these people suddenly trying to make all these changes, and they're not necessarily seeing recoveries. And look for the clues in some of the examples where people are talking about recoveries. But I'm going to show you why my clients don't or rarely get impacted by these, and especially this HCU update. Now, before we move on, it's important to understand the casino business is having a little problem. They're facing an antitrust lawsuit. And one of the things it seems they may have done in response is they've just announced they're going to be disallowing cookies for 1% of Google Chrome users only. And this is going to interfere with the ad system. And what this is going to do is now make it so that potentially a user's search history is not going to be able to be used to display ads for products that are optimized for his search history and profile. So, as anything, keep something in mind. 1% of even just Chrome browsers is a vast number for them, more than enough for them to test. And I'm sure that this is part of their response with the antitrust lawsuit, but also in the end, they will be looking for a way to maximize revenues. Casinos don't like to lose. Google has another big problem. ChatGPT. Okay? ChatGPT hit the ground running and upset everything in the world. And that's because it's a rogue technology. And what's a rogue technology? It's some new technology that emerges that changes the way we think and do everything. And that's what this is. And in response, Google's come up with its search generative experience. Now, I spent quite a bit of time watching some videos on this, and I've been testing it myself frequently. And you can test it by going up to your upper right-hand corner and enabling it. And this is the one we really want to test here. And you can experiment with these results. And if you use... Sorry, got something going over here. I gotta just stop. Now, as you start to go through this, you're going to find it's much like the use of ChatGPT. It doesn't always work well, okay? And there seem to be some specific factors that I've identified that, at least for the time being, some of this seems to be relying on. But it's driven by AI. And AI is not smart. It is simulated intelligence. It is artificial. It makes mistakes. It is not smart enough to be put in a physical form and do housework or cook or anything. It will burn down your house or break something because it's just not that far along. And likewise, Google now needs to experiment with this. And from everything that I've seen with it, seems to be right now at least favoring a lot of also ad results in some of the searches that I did. I also found I've been finding things I'm kind of unhappy when I use the generative experience. I found one of my top clients, his text coming up in the generative experience's explanation, but not actually giving the link to his site until down to the second page. Now, 2 days later, I went back and checked with that same phrase, and things had changed, and he was ranking number 1. So very unusual, some things going on, but the main takeaway is to understand that this is in an experimental phase because Google doesn't understand. It's not in the AI ChatGPT game the way everyone else is using it. And trying to force it into its search results as if to sort of steal its client base away from using the ChatGPT environment is a fool's errand. Now, I'm sure there's some very valuable ways for for Google to integrate AI. However, this approach seems to me to be a fool's errand. And I've seen it too many times over the years when a rogue technology emerges. Other people try to be like someone else. You still see it today. Look at Microsoft with Windows. Microsoft, dude, you got the operating system. You own the market. And instead of making things better, you keep overcomplicating them. You keep trying to force me back into, after every update, do I want to connect my phone? Do I want to put this on? Look at all these things I got now that I didn't have before. My taskbars. I disabled a lot of that stuff. But, you get all these messaging things that became so annoying to me. And that's because, hey, Microsoft, you're not a mobile phone and you're not Apple. And learn Apple's lesson of what they learned from you. You can't be everything. And that is why the Mac system, however good a Mac computer is, Windows has the market. You're never going to be able to do the full range of things on a Windows system with a Mac. It's just the way it works. And that's because back in the day, Mac didn't open itself up to all kinds of developers, allowing it to create software for its platform, and it got pigeonholed while Microsoft said anybody can write software for us, and bada bing, bada boom, overnight they were number 1. But in essence, Microsoft stole the premise of the functionality of Windows from Mac. Okay, and that is the way it was. Now, they continuously try to do things, that's why their cell phones have failed, because you need to stick to what you're doing. And likewise, Google is not dependent on AI. AI is dependent on the information that it gets from Google and Bing and other resources. So there's there's a symbiotic relationship, but one does not require the other. And by trying to force these search generative results in here, not, to me, not working. But the main takeaway is understand these are two problems that Google has. And so lo and behold, here comes the helpful content update, because now they're really going to start focusing on how they're going to be shuffling the deck more effective and making the big winners start buying winning cards from them with their sponsored ad results, which is, these things that we see when you do a search and you see, well, we're not going to see it here, but let's just try, let's try appliance. I'm going to do a local. Let's hit Apple phones. Now, we know Apple's going to come up first. But look, Apple still buys an ad. Why would you, right? Probably just to make sure they dominate the first spot over other companies that buy the ad so they don't get ratted, because obviously they are always going to be the first search result. But we see a lot of sponsored keyword ads, and that's what's driving this. And again, and we really see this heavily in the SGE, search generative experience. And so those are things you want to be tinkering around with and playing and looking at what are the factors that play into the search generative experience, because you need to be developing your content today is really for tomorrow, playing your game now against whatever is going to be dealt tomorrow, because as you're making your changes, you're playing against the guys next to you who are competing for those same keywords. And that's why you don't want to buy into Google, because now you're not just competing with the non-ad people, you're also competing with the people that are purchasing keyword ads. And those are based on the next guy gets to bid, and if he wants to be over you, and it turns into consistent bidding wars for top spots, especially for some of the most profitable phrases. And I understand this because I have clients that sit in high-priced keyword bidding volumes beyond most of the, what would be a norm, even a high norm for others. So I'm always taking that into account, analyzing those who actually pay for ads versus those that don't pay for ads. Understand? You'll see some noticeable difference if you start to look at your analysis through those eyes. Now, let's get to the chase. I have two major takeaways about the helpful content update and what I think is the two best strategies that will not only help you recover, but defend against it in the future. And even in this guy's video, he talks about the engagement time on the pages. Now, engagement time is a very important ranking factor for me. And so I always encourage my clients to make their content as lengthy as possible. And even though Google and everyone wants to see speed, we do everything else that we can to help optimize them. Fortunately, I have a very heavy background. I don't do web development anymore, but some of my clients are still running on websites that I develop for them. But I no longer manage the actual development. I have only one client where he has two sites. I manage both of them completely. I do all of his design, development. I'm very involved in the marketing process. I manage his VPS. I run my own VPS. The guys on my team, we have a very diverse set of skills, but my own skill set is very diverse. And that allows me to often take a look at my clients and say, here's what you need to do, and here's what's wrong technically. You're too slow in this regard. There's plenty of ways to deal with these things. And I guide them into all sorts of solutions. You would be surprised how many people are not using CDN or don't recognize they're having some technical issue that's really impacting their SEO adversely, and get them out of those rocky waters and into, onto the smooth sailing sea. That being said, having good content that's lengthy is important. And this client is new to blogging. Got a substantial size website. I would classify it as medium size. However, we've only maybe acquired up to about 10 blog articles, and my goal short term is to get between 18 to 24 as I start to build topical authority. And I'm actually writing the articles myself because I have technical expertise and understanding of the products and the industries. And so I'm able to take that with my blogs. But it's not that much different for anybody else that's doing their own game, that's running their own blog or selling their own products and really understanding them and how to market them best and write blog content that's about it. Because content is king, and you need a lot of content to play at the casino. Your content is the money and the cards, really, that you're going to get to play with at the table. You don't want to spend your money on Google. You want to spend your money on your resources to make winning cards, and then put those cards on as many tables as possible. Now let's take a look at my client's engagement, that I really endeavor to focus on this aspect. And in the design of the website, I really laid out the structure that leads them through the pieces of how these technologies work, because his products were very well known in one industry for like maybe 25 years. And then when he broke into these new industries and made some diversifications of his product, it was a game changer. But those people never heard of this type of system, and they come in and they say, I want this system with X, Y, and Z, and when is the ship. They want to know when the actual ship to delivery time, because these sorts of things, maybe 6 months or even a year. With the pandemic there were problems, and there probably may still be, but there is lead time. At best, someone may be waiting up to 90 days, and that, I would say, is probably lucky, because I know he's very backlogged. He's having a lot of success and breaking into new industries. But the pages have high engagement, and including the blogs. So let's just take a quick look at that. Now, if you go to your Google Analytics, go to engagement and go down to select landing pages, it'll give you a list of all your pages. And what you want to look at over here is average engagement time per session. Now, you'll see in that video from the gentleman with the article, he's analyzing very low engagement times. But look at my engagement times over here, just randomly. 3 minutes, 49 seconds, that's the home page. 23 seconds, 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute in seconds, 2 minutes, 1 minute, 3 minutes. This is a blog article. That's beautiful. Oh, that's actually the main blog page. And 2 minutes. And so I'm seeing some really, really good times on these pages. And that's because they are designed to be engaging, to have things to interact with. Images, image carousels, and hotspot images, and lots of details that keep them engaged to the end, okay? And I can really see that I have these great engagement times. Now, keep something in mind, guys. Also, a lot of the people that or companies that this client is competing with also have decent engagement times. Not all, many of them don't, and they suffer more. And of course, this is a highly competitive market with a lot of sponsored keyword bidding in the search results, both in the top and the bottoms of the page. So, looking at the competitors, because I analyze the competitors. Now, of course, I don't have access to their Google Analytics, but I'm playing the big poker game. So I'm not only just, having a lot of content and cards on a lot of tables, I'm playing against the casino and all of its casinos. And I've got my own little side game on the side, which is the other factor, which happens outside the casino. But inside the casino, it's important to also understand, you want to have a better engagement rate than the people that you're competing with. That's the key factor there, and I've seen that the engagement rates are strong. A strong engagement rate is a sort of a no-brainer factor for the algorithm. And the reason, since Google started to really track this, it's a play on how the YouTube algorithm works. And does the person actually spend time on the page? It must be good content. It must be engaging. It must be helpful content update. See the relationship there? These have a much more powerful impact. Now, when you're playing the blog-only game, it's going to be a little different, obviously, because bloggers, at the end of the day, are really affiliate marketers. They're writing articles and looking to make revenue off of that through various forms of advertising on their websites. Okay, so at the end of the day, whether you're using Google Ads, some other platform, or anything else integrated, whether directly by company or not, or even somebody directly advertising. In a sense, you are an affiliate marketing, even if you're selling ads on your site for somebody and they're just paying you directly for the ad rather than a percentage. The mechanic, the principle in technical theory and how Google is analyzing these things is all the same. So blogs are, in a sense, affiliate marketers. And of course, a lot of them are making a lot of money. So they seem to be targeting the highest. Now, if you're a shopping site, like, here's one of my new clients, great guy, we're getting him started. But what we want to do is we want to look at products. And so, like, if you've got a shopping site, he's got a lot of written comment here, and there's a lot to look at and kind of continue the engagement to go through things, FAQ. This is a solid sort of approach in principle. And many of these products have multiple images, sometimes up to 6, 7, 8, and people will click on them, and that creates engagement time. Anything that will drive things up. So shopping sites, to have a robust format and some interactivity and lots of things for them to read about, this is going to help drive up your engagement, okay? Now, I don't want to go off on a tangent about engagement, and it is different for blogs. If you're strictly a blog site, regardless of your niche, I see that there are other factors going on in the analysis. Sometimes it's about, Google's playing a game to drive its revenues up, but all you have to do is sort of figure out what are some of those differences. And yes, you can analyze competitors, but remember, you're analyzing them today, and they're going to be making changes right now as well. And if you analyze some of the people that are doing well, you're not really getting what you need to get yourself back on track, because the algorithm that's trying to stick it to you, really, you're not gonna overcome it through the ordinary means necessarily by just examining everybody else, but rather play your own game and adjust it, okay? Focus on what works. Now, in analyzing competitors, okay, it isn't just also, when you're going to analyze, you want to analyze them in a couple different ways. And this is stepping into the big picture just outside of blogs, but there's two ways I can examine my clients or my own competitors, is by using Hrefs and going over and looking at the organic competitors. And if you click on this, it will give you a list of the top 20 competitors by keyword phrase. So the ones that share the most phrases with you. But not every one of your competitor always sits in there. I've got a client that's got 1 or 2 competitors that they don't make the top 20, but that's because it's the total amount of shared phrases. But in certain tight markets for specific phrases, they compete fiercely. So it's important to understand who your competitors are. And because those are real world competitors. We're talking about test equipment. They go to trade shows. They have a certain brand recognition. So that being said, there's a commonality going on, and we can get certain data from these sources, but we can't access their analytics on Google, and this is only shows me partial of the picture. And that's where a product like Advanced Web Ranking comes in. And with Advanced Web Ranking, I'm able to put my clients into one of these systems, and then I can put a list of search phrases. Now, for this particular client, is about 750 that I track, and those phrases represent the ecosystem. In some cases, I don't need every variation of the phrase, and it's not overly done in repetition. It's not like, every little variation. It's only where the variations actually make a significant difference in the search results, which is something that you learn from experience and analysis and, going through even the manual approach. But, over the years, I know my marketplace, I know the phrases, I know how the scientists, the researchers, and engineers search for these products. So in here, I can actually track competitors. And they have a dual system, a cloud. And that cloud lets me put the competitors up. And I just started a new list for my competitors. You can see I took his original competitors off, and you see the short lines up here. I have to keep the names off of here. But I realized he's really got a whole new range of competitors, because in one market that he's really dominating, he is now being known in that marketplace, that which is just a slice of his business, okay? But it's much more competitive, and this product that he's competing with leads into purchasing his main systems. So it really works out well strategically. But this allows me to analyze them, week to week and what's going on here, so I can see the difference. Now, what these charts represent is visibility, and that visibility is based on these companies and the average of phrases for the engines that I'm tracking. And I'm tracking Google Mobile, Google Desktop, Yahoo, and Bing. And they have all sorts of additional options, Yandex, other search engines. But those are the ones that I need because I have separate mobile pages for this client. And these are the same results, and these give me the up or down positions. But I can go here and change this from websites to search engines. And now I can see the impact of the search engines. And what we can see here is that Google is our blue, and we're seeing some nice upward movement. That's the desktop. We see Bing and mobile up at the top, and we're having a little downturn with Yahoo. I'll be analyzing that to see what's going on over there. Yahoo, for me, is not a lead generator. But what Yahoo does tend to do is it gives a really good sort of average representation of the rest of the search engines around the world. This is a global client, so other countries where they have their country search engines or the Google variation, or they use Yandex or some other, Duckadoo or one of these other Ask.com, Search.com, whatever it may be. But I don't analyze all of those. Yahoo acts as my average indicator of all the others, and I found that to be very reliable over the years. Now, I am going to do a video on advanced web ranking. I have several accounts because I don't like to keep certain clients grouped with other ones, because occasionally I have to, interact with the client, share my desktop, and show them things from this, and I don't necessarily want them to see other clients, not that they're competitors. But one of the things this allows me to do is really manage my keywords. I've got a lot to track, so I can look at all of my positions accurately on the whole, or by specific search engine. I can break them down, okay? I can also filter my keywords by a specific word, which allows me to look at groups. Sometimes it's 2 words, because many times 2 words appear frequently through multiple phrases. So by doing this, it really allows me to see the overall trends, and I can pick up on things much more quickly. It's one of the most comprehensive analysis tools. But it will integrate with your Google and your Bing. But what you really want to do with this product is you've got to give it the information to really feed it. You are going to have it track your website and a series of competitors' websites, and you're going to give it the keyword phrase list. And there's a tremendous amount of tools in here. I don't use them all because in my thinking and game, it's all about tracking my keywords accurately and being able to see the big picture, because when you look at your pages one at a time, that's useful, but you also need to be able to see the trend in a whole group of phrases being impacted. And that can really alert you to things and changes that you need to make in your SEO strategy. Now, that being said, we'll do another video on this, but let's get to the second big factor, link building. Backlinking, right? And I say link building because that's the white hat phrase that all the big guys out there are using, who actually provide backlinking. And they will talk about automated backlinking or some things that need to be done when you actually get involved with the process, because at the end of the day, they're doing the same thing that I'm doing, but they don't talk about it the same way. Now let's look at link building as a white hat topic, and I'm going to tell you why. Now, before we move on, and we've talked about the poker casino concept, but I always encourage that you think outside the box, that you apply these sort of not metaphysical, but there's a physics involved, or mathematics, and in this case, this is gaming. The prisoner's dilemma. Will tell us about life, the universe, and everything. right? Now, what is the prisoner's dilemma? I'll leave a link to this video down below. And basically, this applies to all sorts of things, from nuclear war, strategy, and the principle is the two individuals have an option. They can either C, cooperate, or D, defect. And so if they both cooperate, each receives 3 points. If the one on the left defects and the one on the right cooperates, the defector receives 5 points and the one that attempted to cooperate receives nothing. On the other hand, if they both defect, they each receive 1 point. And what this does is go through some of the variations. And what you learn is that those that cooperate, the algorithms, and a lot of programmers got involved in a contest to try to figure out what were the best approaches. And ultimately, all of the ones that involve cooperation. And what is link building? Link building is cooperation. And many of the very big, successful SEO companies, the big brand guys, and they sell automation or talk about link building, they put it in a white hat wrapper. And part of the way they're able to do that is because they have their own sites that they're able to provide that backlinking. They have their own other blog sites. And if you're a guy that's in the blogging game and you own a lot of blogging sites, you can use those blogging sites, obviously, to provide backlinks back and forth in relevant ways. It's a lot of good opportunities to do those sorts of things. And of course, that is representative of what link building and backlinking is, statistically speaking. So I suggest you take a look at this video and kind of think about this in your thought process as well. Now, let's take a look at this video here. This is Julian Goldie, and he's very popular, got a popular channel on YouTube, shares a lot of good stuff. This guy's legitimate. He's been interviewed on other SEO podcasts, including Niche Pursuits. And this particular video, look what he talks about. How I built 98 SEO sites and 32,000 posts in 72 days with ChatGPT. And if you're watching a lot of podcasts like Niche Pursuits, you'll hear a lot of similar stories of mass content creation and success with blogs and some of the things the guys did and ultimately even got penalized for. And that because they came out about it. That's the other thing. Google hates to be embarrassed, and they don't like people publicly talking about how they exploit them. I myself have a series of successful sites and blogs that I don't discuss because I don't want them out in the social media sphere or here on YouTube or somebody catching wind. And one of the guys at Google seeing that, as I see it happen frequently, following other people, they will come down on you like a hammer. And so you keep yourself under the radar. In that regard, though, I also can provide some very high quality backlinks from some of my sites when it fits. And having sites that have diversity that allow me to be able to make relevant content to those sites is important. But primarily, like in my backlinking service, I am relying on the sites that the blogging sites that are provided in the networks and those softwares and systems. And in some cases, some where I'm going out and building my own with more advanced software. But understanding this relationship, you see this video, and not saying he's misleading anyone here, and he's not talking about this in backlinking context, but it's clear that there is going to be a strategy with this, and what many people do, because if you look at this, look at the title. This is Build Your Own Powerful Network of AI Sites on the Leading Multi-Site Hosting with Just a Few Clicks, right? And you see exclusive discounted offer for Julian Goldie subscribers. And when we get close up here and we look at the link, we see it's a variation of the actual link. Because if we actually go to easyblognetworks.com, this is how it reads. It now reads, build your own blog network on the leading PBN host without footprints in literally minutes. This is really a good platform, okay? And now imagine you can go out and make 100 sites that are your own private PBNs, and those are like for you guys who have X-Ranker. Okay, you know that in X-Ranker you can put your own PBNs in there. Many people create their own PBNs just for the purpose of influencing search engine results on Google. So while Google doesn't necessarily always show these results, here we see in his video, he's actually beginning to get results in Google because he's not playing this in his scenario as a PBN, okay? But you can clearly see the relationship and how people use that. Now I can see there's going to be a huge opportunity for him to use this large array of sites that he's creating in a short amount of time with a high amount of content. Which brings me to another point, because we're seeing this everywhere thanks to AI. Isn't that black hat? If you're using AI to write an article, isn't that black hat? If you're using AI to mass generate content and articles, isn't that black hat? And isn't that what we're really doing? Aren't they really doing what we were doing all along for those of us who knew how to successfully do influential campaigns of posts with backlinks and not have it be garbage? Because at the end of the day, that's what really matters. He shows in this video he's starting to get search results. But that's because he's trying to create some legitimate platforms, where a lot of the platforms where we're going to post using softwares like Money Robot and GSA and the various things, some of them are Web 2.0 blogs or PBNs, and then there are some others that have higher networks, and they're real blog networks like the ones you can really get into with GSA. But you've got to get them yourself and get them in there. You're not going to get the good stuff buying somebody else's list. That's again why I like to emphasize for you guys who hear me talk about GSA and like you want to do it. That's the last product you want to get into. You want to get into it first so you can learn it, but it is the last one you want to really learn to use. You want to be very experienced in your approach with that, because, even me, I've been running lately. I'm doing some tests with it, and I'm trying to build some lists for it, and I've made some blunderous mistakes. It's just so easy because there's so much to it. And now I'm running regularly with it again. I really need to, be more careful, and because I'm doing different approaches than I had used it before. Where generally, when I use GSA, I don't run everything together. But what I'm trying to do is actually create a successful model to actually run them, maybe not necessarily always all together at the same time, but you could run various ones and then go back and run the other platforms and, do things in a sort of natural, timely, occurring over time factor than rather overnight. So that, of course, we've discussed before in another topic. But what I really want to emphasizes about how this game is really played, and even with some of these larger guys, because of course they've got sites that they've developed, and now this is getting even easier with these platforms for people to be able to go out and mass create websites. Okay, and even in one of the next videos I'm about to do, which is about Human Writer, which is a great free product for creating lots of articles better formatted using the ChatGPT API key. And it's really just fantastic because you can make really robust articles, 1,500, 2,000 words, and at under a penny an article. I mean, it's just really good. So it's a really good tool, and we're going to make a video about that. And again, isn't that black hat? Isn't it black hat when we're producing 32,000 posts in 72 days? Hey, do the math, right? It's not unlike what we do. And in fact, it's exactly like what we do. Because in backlinking, we need to have good backlinks. And the sites that I manage all follow certain rules of metrics. They keep their sites updated. They're continuously adding blogs and new content. And there's a continuous flow of backlinks that reflects that content. It's changes, it's new blogs, new people posting, simulating the ecosystem. Because isn't that really what we're doing, what these guys do with their things? The same thing. But somehow, hey, that's black hat and backlinking. No, backlinking is not black hat, and it's probably one of the number one influencing tools of all the big SEO guys out there. But they're not going to talk about it because, black hat has that stigma. The articles that I create and the posts for my clients are as readable as any blog that they're going to find on the web. And now, even myself, I'm moving into this network. Now, I had always considered doing this for several years, but I had time constraints. But only now that the technology is available with easy blog networks. And I took a look at a few of them, but the fact that they have a really robust system here, and they do it without footprints, and the pricing is right. I see this becoming a viable tool because through a series of my own blog sites and backlinking those and backlinking my clients, I have all of their backlinks, and all of those backlinks have guest postings on them. So there is an array of resources for me to take advantage of my original content to augment new content, new clients when it fits. And I don't necessarily, I'm taking it from another client. Rather, I've already got content in that genre because I've got blog sites that have diverse content. And while that is a more difficult game to compete with because I'm not niche specific, gradually over time it's made me successful in being able to build backlinks and having those backlinks categorized to make guest book posting available on backlinks that have developed better and higher ranking. And I'll do even better now this year as I'm launching one of these build your blog networks myself. And it's for the clients and to ensure that my clients have safe, reliable sources, and I'm not dependent on all of the sources that are out there provided by other softwares, and build my own resources with my own logic and build a nice network that's really going to reinforce my clients probably for the next decade. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, the people that have a strong flow of backlinks, it's not about high numbers, it's about what's right in their ecosystem and that it's working. Like I covered in one of my recent videos, it's all about that, seeing that anchor text that's registered from your Hrefs. When you're looking at the backlinks, you want to look at what that keyword anchor text is. That's the big signal that's getting carried up, that's driving the rank. And when Google sees that, it sees it as activity that, yes, people read this blog, they were engaged by it, they write similar content, and they're providing a link from their content to my content. Makes perfect sense to the algorithm and how the mechanic of things work. Because what they're really trying to do is sort of assess an overall human behavior. Just like with this helpful content update. But the only one it's helpful to is their own cash register. That is when they figure out what they're doing, because clearly they don't. But they do know when they shake things up dramatically and a lot of people fall, revenues go up. There's no doubt in my mind about it. It's a basic, standard casino principle, okay? And that is all that you need to see in the regard of what the mindset is behind it. Is Google the most ethical player? If they were, they wouldn't be being sued, would they? Because if you're in the type of lawsuit that they're in, it's basically you're saying, hey, yeah, we were stacking the deck in the house's favor, right? So keep these principles in mind. If you haven't played poker, put one on your app. Learn. It's fun. It's strategy. It's math. It's timing. Learn the basics. It's a great little hobby on the side. Don't spend money, okay? Most people lose more than make. But it's a great game to understand and learn and kind of be in that genre. And if you watch the sport on TV and you get to know the players and the people, you really see it's like a level thing. And it's a game, just like SEO, anybody can do it. You don't have to be, like some sports, you have that physical prowess for a particular, type of sport. You might be a good basketball player, you're tall, or football player, you're big and muscular, or you have certain physical attributes. But poker is a sport anyone can compete in because it's a game of intellect, of timing, of math, okay? There's bluffing. There's a lot of things. It's understanding the player, understanding the competition, and understanding the casino. Remember, Google needs SEO people because the people who buy the ads are competing against us. They need someone for their paying customers to compete against, okay? So, and drive the value up and drive the value of bidding up. It's just good casino math for them. And when you start to look at things through those eyes and analyze things a little different, Suddenly, some of those defining factors that people are picking up on, that they think it was this that changed and how they modified or made a difference. Take a look at think about it, looking through the eyes of what they did to shake the game up. Too many people winning. It's time to we need new players in the game. And the way they get new players, it doesn't make sense. Why you're going to have people that they're never going to spend, they've never gotten big SEO results, and suddenly they're getting dominating results. I've seen that happen many times in my bigger business platforms that I compete in. And it's always the same. They never last. Or they just got like sort of one or two phrases that seem threatening, but in the overall analysis, and that's where AWR comes in, they really don't, make the mark. But people only see what they see in front of their face. They're searching, they're looking, it's the top 10. They think this is the whole game. Don't look at any one hand like it's the whole game. You should be playing multiple tables all over the casino. The more you have, the more content, the more keywords. And, AWR is a great product. Even if it's just for yourself and tracking a big blog site that you have, and you've got thousands of pages and posts that you've built up, and you've got literally 1,000 keywords or more you might be needing to manage, and you use tools like Link Whisper. In AWR, when you feed those in, you're going to be able to see the results on each individual search engine and really make much better assessments and see the relationships, the keyword relationships. And Google used to have keyword groups. It still has that mathematic involved, but they don't show it to you. But you can build your own keyword groups. And even when Google showed it, I used to make my own because I saw that they weren't written in stone. They were flexible. And they had multiple keyword groups around, you might find 5 keyword groups that were very similar. But there's one phrase in that group that sort of defines the whole groups differently. So it's important to sort of monitor all of that and see the trends. So when I'm seeing, I don't want to go in and go, I was number 1 over here, and now, what's going on? No, that's not how I look at things. I was how many number 1 positions, and how many number 2 positions, how many number 3 positions. And rather than looking at the statistics from what tracked from the page, I'm looking at the keywords, what tracked, because sometimes those keywords, more than one page may come up for that keyword or the variation of that keyword. Something very similar, it goes to this page. Just a little bit different. And I get that frequently. And that's because the terminologies may seem a bit simplistic, but to the engineer in his particular market, they say it slightly differently. And that makes a big impact. Sometimes just using the plural version of the search has a huge impact on the search results, whereas sometimes the singular, sometimes not at all, no change. And understanding why is important. So that being said, I hope I really opened your eyes to the helpful content update. Not to get discouraged if you got hit hard, but think outside the box about it. And don't go running so quickly to mimic everybody else's things, unless you feel, that you see someone's resource that's saying, yeah, this is identical to me and he rebounded. But think about the other things that are going on outside the table that you're playing at, or tables, or the casino, the things that are influencing the casino from the outside, and how you can influence, because that's what link building is. That's what backlinking is, that we do in the process that we do in the software as I covered on this channel. And that is primarily, the big thing is about the blog networks and what they're going to drive in terms of keyword ranking towards your blogs and pages in that tiering of information that's transferring upwards. Because what's really happening in that tier, those tiering structures that I talk about in my tiering video, what's really tiering is the information being carried up to and concentrated to a single source or multiple sources, because you have multiple pages and you're going to have tiers of keywords that go to different pages. Understand? So ultimately, the biggest overall factor that I've seen that people survive are those that have really solid link building, backlinking strategies month to month. And sometimes it's not always intentional. They just have that type of site where they get a lot of really legitimate, good backlinks, and they have anchor text that just happen in a real world way, where somebody's actually doing it and saying, I need to reference that guy's article from my article. And there's also SEO value in external links. I find some argument to that, and there's many other reasons for that. That's another topic. But backlinking, link building seems to be the strongest factor overall that's played. And my blog sites, they're not huge, but they're decent. And some I have some decent value to them. And yet, they were not impacted at all. Not at all. But I also do a very, good backlinking approach for my campaigns. So that's basically it for my assessment on this. And we're going to probably, the next video I would like to be is the human writer, because I think that's important that you just get a quick, be a very short video, but get a quick outline on how to get that going, because very powerful tool can really help you with your content creation. That being said, guys, with new solutions like this, and because of AI and the ability to more accurately create upper level content, I believe that backlinking is going to become even more important in 2024 than ever to maintain a competitive edge against your competitors and the ecosystems that you compete in. Guys, you need professional backlinking and SEO coaching, please visit us at SEO-depot.com. Okay, the training is basically free. We'll get you on track with your SEO, help you optimize your pages and content to really make the link building process that we provide to your site work. We have a 100% success rate. Everyone, if you like this video and you want to see more great content like this, don't forget to give us a like and to follow us, and there will be more to come. I wish everyone a very happy holiday season and a very happy new year. Thanks for watching.